Hello and welcome to another episode of the BashTalk podcast. This is another special episode with my guest Naz Hayat, and he's someone who's well known in the local community. And it was a chance encounter where we kind of met in town. And we had a little conversation about potentially you coming on and maybe having a chat about some certain topics. So if I could just really quickly just ask you to just introduce yourself to our guest, please, Naz.
Yeah, of course. My name is Naz Hayat. Everyone knows me as Bertie in the community. Well known through quite a few generations, really, in Nelson. Born and bred, lived on every street practically all my life. Quite well known. Also a councillor for the Labour Party as well. Quite vocal about local issues. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here today.
Okay. I had it's not on the list, but there's a question I was wondering because you're a little bit older than me, and I've noticed a few times on Facebook people won't call you Naz, they call you Bertie. Where did the Bertie name come from?
My Christian name is Albert, so that's the reason where it's come from. I hate that name. I hate using it, but that's why everyone just calls me Naz. But obviously, the people who have known me since school, college, and uni as well, they just know me as Bertie, so it's fine. I don't have an issue with it. But
I've just seen it a couple of times. Like, yes, Bertie. I was like, what was that? Yeah. Now, so one of the main themes of this conversation today was around interfaith, and I mentioned when I was obviously promoting or announcing this particular podcast that you've obviously got a lot of experience with the interfaith aspect of it, and that's because you are actually Christian.
Yeah.
And you, although your ethnic origin is Pakistani, and you've obviously been brought up alongside the Muslim community and the Pakistani Muslim community here in Nelson as well, and you've had quite a few experiences, whether it's positive or negative, and it's something that it'd be good for us to talk about. So just to kind of start us off and kind of go into it, in terms of the Christian aspect, would you describe yourself as quite religious? So
I'd say I am. I am, but at the same time, I'm quite open-minded as well. Okay. I've been living in the Every Street area, Victoria Street, practically all my life. So I've been brought up around the Muslim faith as well.
Okay.
So I'm quite respectful. I used to go out with the lads on Eid. Even when everyone used to fast. So I've always had that respect. But I've always had that respect. But obviously, I have my own faith as well.
Yeah.
I go to church. My family is very church orientated. Very, very strict Christians. My elders, I won't say I'm strict, but I know. I try and follow it as much as I can. But like I said, I've got respect there for both Islam and Christianity. We are all people of the book, as they would say as well.
Yeah.
So that respect's always there. But church going, we are God-fearing people.
Okay, and then so you've grown up alongside some of the legends of Nelson. Like I'm not gonna start name dropping anybody, but
it's too many.
Yeah, you know some people, and they've all grown up with you as well, and by all accounts they all rate you. So there's never outwardly been any insinuation that they're gonna treat you any differently because of your faith or anything. But at the same time, that's just the kind of on the surface of it, the kind of rose-tinted glasses view of it. Oh, everything's fine and dandy, but growing up, you did obviously have some negative experiences as well, didn't you? And would you be okay to just expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, as my family, my brothers grew up. Our parents didn't teach us, you're different. You're Christian. You're gonna get negativity. You're gonna get called names.
Yeah,
we were never taught that. So we always learnt it while we were on the street, while we were playing out. So we kind of learnt it ourselves. We got to know the ugly side of people where they'd see, that you're different.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I'd probably say about 10 years old, 11 years old, playing on every street with my friends. And then I've had someone's angry parent coming over and, you shouldn't be around here, go back to your own area, and making a derogatory comment. And I used to go home and say, look, Mum, what does this mean? And my parents kind of explained, don't play in that area, but they didn't really explain it. It was only when I got to 12, 13, and I was starting to realise what the derogatory comments meant and where it was associated with. Obviously, there's a stigma attached to Asian Christians. Because in Pakistan, as you know, the system there, for decades has been, the Christian community there have got low menial jobs. So because of that stigma, it's been attached to us. We could have all the money in the world, or you can have the best job in the world, but that stigma is always attached because of our faith group in Pakistan. And that mentality has been brought over from Pakistan to the UK. And some of obviously our elders brought it over. Yeah. I've been quite lucky. None of my friends, I've from the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, I've still got the same friends. They've never treated me any different, but we used to see it from the elders, from the parents. So as I grew old, I could see where it was passed down to the children. And some of the kids that I grew up with still are my friends, and people who weren't really my friends who still made that comment. As they got older, they became wise, and they started to think, well, that's wrong. Yeah. But there are people that I didn't get on with as I grew up, but now they're one of the guys that I can say, you know what, they're my friends.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad that the mentality has evolved. There were times where I was picked on, my brothers were picked on at a very, very young age. But we were quite lucky because being in every street area, we got to know everyone.
Yeah.
So even if there was always one bad apple, but they were the majority of the guys that I always got on with. So my family's been quite lucky in the every street area. Everyone knows my brother Tony, Jonesy, Imi, Isaac. He's probably not Isaac's a hairdresser, so everyone goes to him for a haircut. So my family's been quite lucky, but I'm not going to talk and generalise and talk on behalf of my community because everyone's had different experiences.
Yeah.
So I can only just talk about my experiences and some of the youngsters that I've spoken to, because I've also been a youth worker for my local church, which I did for 10 years.
Okay.
And one of the topics that we used to always cover was the bullying aspect, the harassment, the derogatory comments, and it does affect mental health of youngsters because when they're growing up and they're afraid to tell them their name or tell them that they're Christian. Because I had it for a certain time, thinking how are they going to perceive me? How are they going to look at me? Are they going to treat me any different?
Yeah.
And I grew up with a bit of that. Because sometimes I think, should I tell them or not? Because they think how they're going to react. And I said, but I've been quite lucky. People knew who I was, and it was common knowledge, so it didn't really affect me as much. But some of the youngsters that I've spoken to now at uni now, they affected their mental health. Wow. Anxiety, depression, because they were too afraid to speak out.
So compared to, you're working with youth now, and then at the same time you've grown up and experienced from your own personal experience. Has it? So if you were to kind of track it, how is it tracking in the sense that is it getting worse, better?
It's gone better. Okay. Much better. I think. I've been since I've been a counsellor, and one of the I've used this platform to speak at many media platforms regarding interfaith, how it can improve, and there's loads of great work happening, building bridges. I know some of the guys from there are doing great work. The local masjids are much more open to speak to the Christian community, which didn't happen sadly 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was not okay. It wasn't practiced to say, you know what, it's all right to shake hands with someone from the opposite faith. Not all families, but it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because I remember 2005 where we wanted to do a interfaith project with some of the local masjids, but we didn't get any. To 10, I think. We didn't get any response. Wow. At that time.
At that time, though, yeah.
But now it's completely changed because now everyone starts to realise now, you know what, we do need to mix. We need to have interfaith to get along. And I've seen a lot of the elders, not just in the Muslim community, in my community, which they were like always, oh no, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to get a negative response.
Yeah.
So it's both sides of the community where
it's almost like that kind of shield's coming down on both sides, isn't it?
So the wall's been up on both sides because of that. And it's all just because of miscommunication. No one's talking. But obviously 9/11 happened, and then we had issues with the 7/7 situation. We've had suicide bombings, and ultimately it's the Muslim community that are suffering from it as well. So basically now, everyone's understanding that everyone's a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just the Christian community. terrorism hasn't got a religion. They're just idiots that do that. But it affects the Muslim community and the Christian community. In Pakistan, we've had churches being bombed, as you probably know, but then you've got mosques that are being bombed, And like I said, these people don't have religion. It's only them we've actually now got common ground of understanding.
Yeah.
You think, well, these people, your mother's father, brothers and sisters are getting killed by terrorism. So are ours. So we've now got this common ground. We think, let's come together.
Yeah.
And from that, and I've seen the change. I've seen like a lot of the Muslim community and Christian community coming together. There's been church gatherings, there's been meetings. Everyone's starting to talk to each other, and that's been happening. I'd say a good part of. I'd say now 7-8 years where it's massively improved. It's not just the Asian community; it's the English community is starting to come a bit forward now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of misconception. Obviously, you're going to get the odd idiot who's going to say, "Oh, you know what." And now they talk about COVID being, it's an Asian problem. Still Asians are doing it.
Oh dear, yeah.
You get that. So, but I've seen a massive improvement.
Because I think it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, the common enemy or the common kind of uniting factor being, say, like, and as an example, terrorism, where it's the same factor where it doesn't differentiate. It doesn't look at the colour of your skin. It just says, look, if you're a target, you're a target.
You're a target, yeah, absolutely. You almost become collateral damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. When someone goes and a suicide bomber or someone plants a bomb, they're not going to know who's standing there. They're not going to say, better put it on this side.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
No.
They're going to discriminately kill anyone, and it's affected everyone. And that has now said, that has now put, an understanding for everyone to think, we're all victims in this. We're all, we all need to come together. The only way we're going to beat, hate is by love and by having that community spirit and that cohesion together, battling, these subjects together. It's the only way that we are going to win.
Do you think some of it, so in terms of like the relationship, obviously, you mentioned that it's getting better. Do you reckon some of it's also just down to just a generation gap?
Definitely. I think, I'm in my early 40s. I don't want to say it, but
I was trying not to ask you.
But I'm in my early 40s, but I can see now the generation now. It's not so much it's fitting in because of your faith, but there's still that element there, and I've heard it and I've seen it, and I've had to step up sometimes. Say, look, why are you saying that? So we are still getting that mentality still seeping through. But like I said, it's not as bad. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, it was terrible. It was terrible. Like I said, I'm lucky. I didn't see much of it. I did see, certain idiots that used to try and pick a fight with me. But I used to have friends who'd stand in front of me and say, listen, he's our friend. If you're going to go through him, you go through us. And I was blessed for that. All my brothers as well. And just being in the area. But there's other younger guys, maybe only just a few years younger than me, who didn't live in my area, lived top of Nelson or other part of Pendle. They didn't have that.
Yeah.
They didn't have that because they always thought, better step back. So they're standoffish. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have that interaction. And
then obviously without speaking, because like you said, you don't want to speak on behalf of others, but there is, so some of the other areas. And then, obviously, I'm not that far off age-wise, kind of. But I do remember, like, there was a time, there was, a few incidents, and at that time, bearing in mind, this must have been 15, 20 years ago, just for the context for the viewers, so it's not something recent. But one, like you said, standoffish, and two, it almost kind of forced people to kind of become a bit defensive and stick together a bit too much. And then, obviously, the good work that's being done now is slowly starting to undo that, because then those people are having children, and the children will just play together. Yeah. You haven't got that kind of old school mentality saying, don't play with them because of this, that, the other. That's right.
That has now, I think that has receded a lot, to be honest, because me and my brothers, we used to get it a lot. Oh, up in my village, go to your area. What are you doing around here? You shouldn't be around here. I think, why? I'm on the next street. Yeah. And a lot of the elders were like that, but obviously now. Guys my age or families my age now, they're obviously they're a bit more liberal now, and they do, obviously they're not as stringent. Don't talk to him. fair enough, obviously, if they've got bad habits, and that's a little bit different, but it's not because of the faith or anything like that. So which is a good thing. But then you still got a lot of the factions. I mean, that happens probably in our community. I know, I've heard it before where they won't mix. They won't. Oh, I want to stay away. So it works both ways. I'm not going to say it's all one sided. So, but I mean, my children now, they're mixed race.
Yeah.
So growing up, I don't want them to be isolated or not spoken to because they're mixed race. So not only they've got an English mum, they've got a Christian background, and the Pakistanis as well.
Yeah.
So I've almost kind of made it a bit more complicated for them. So I just, I think our generation now who got kids growing up, I just want them to be mindful as to what they teach at home.
So with the kind of Pakistani Christian community, like I'll give you an example because I know that again we don't want to start delving in too much into Pakistan and the situation there, because again it's people's other experiences and stuff. But like when, for example, as an example, my family we tend to be quite close to Pakistan. I haven't been in 10 years, but my dad goes regularly, mum goes regularly, and it's a different situation for someone who's obviously a Muslim there. But do you visit often or?
I've not been for 10 years, to be honest.
Same, yeah.
I mean, but before that, I did used to go every few years. So I remember I went in 1999 for the first time in 15 years. And I had a bit of an experience there. I mean, my family didn't know I used to smoke. So I used to go walk away from the house and go and light up. And have a gentleman come over and say, look, you're not supposed to be in this area. I was, what do you mean? He goes, that's your area over there. You stay in your area. And I thought, I feel like giving him a hard slap for that. But I thought, I'm not going to cause any aggro. And because he goes, don't go in that area. Because they're like apartments.
Yeah.
And you have like sections. And because where I was staying, my Kalu is he's in the Navy. So it's all apartments are for families who work in the Navy and their staff and stuff like that. And it's a well-to-do area. But the guy, he was well-spoken English as well. Right. I was off standards as have that mentality. And I thought, okay. And that's my experience. And it put me off going back to Pakistan.
That's completely understandable. It's kind of the reason why I asked.
Yeah.
Because I just want to know if you'd been and then I suppose bringing it back then to the next generation. You've obviously got young children, mixed race. Do you reckon they'll be getting a visit to Pakistan anytime soon?
Well, I put it to my son, he's 6 years old, and I said, look, son, do you fancy going to Pakistan? Come and see your families now. Mm-hmm. No. He goes, why? He goes, Dad, I don't like the food. You haven't tried the food yet. But I'm sure they will when they're older.
Yeah.
I'd want them to go and look at where my parents came from.
Yeah.
Because the cultures, their roots. Part of the reasons why I went after so many years was I thought, I've not been since I was 10. You know what I mean? So I thought, I need to go. And you know what? And I love Pakistan. I'm not gonna lie. I love the food there. I love going out and visiting. My brother got married a few years later from when I went, and we caught a train from Karachi to Quetta. It was like a 16-hour journey. But you know what?
That's a long distance, man.
But I got to see Pakistan for its country, for its beauty. Honestly, on the train, we went through so many cities, countrysides, hilly areas, and it was amazing. I thought, wow, Pakistan's an amazing country. It's a beautiful country when you see it. Because obviously, where we come from in Karachi, there's a lot of pollution. You see a lot of, it's like what you'd see in a city. But when you're actually going out and you're seeing, country, the Pakistan for what it is, it's amazing. Honestly, it's an amazing country. Just sometimes some people spoil it. Yeah, in Pakistan. So
I think that it's actually nice that you mentioned that the fact that you. Because I didn't notice that. Oh, just for context, this isn't some pre-scripted interview or anything like that. This is all new to me, because there's a very unfair perception that the elder generation used to have, didn't they? When they're saying that, this community they're here and they don't care much about Pakistan. It's like that couldn't be further from the truth. No. It couldn't be further from the truth. It's just, but again, I'm saying from my side, it's slowly being stamped out. And it is actually nice to see that we're just the same people.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. It's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But in terms of your outlook on life, how much of that has been impacted by your experiences growing up this way, I guess?
Well, I can tell you something now. A lot, even all my friends have encouraged me to do good, and then all my close friends are Muslim. Even going to uni, college, even my first job. I won't mention his name, but my career started with one of my close friends saying, "Get out of bed, you got an interview." And had I not got out of bed, we had just finished uni as well, and I thought, I can't bother. And he got me out of bed. I said, "Listen, you got an interview at Barclays. It's a big job. Come on, go. You might even get it." I was all right, go on then. And I went. But just imagine if I didn't have that friend there, you give it a push. I ended up being in Barclays for 13 years. It set me up in the finance industry, the banking industry, and I've been in banking all my life.
Right.
But had I not, my friend encouraged me to do that, even becoming a counsellor, I had no intentions of becoming. I never thought of it. The dream of being a counsellor, and it was my close friends who said, "No, do it. It'll be good for you. It'll be good for your community." And there's a amount of support I've had just doing that, doing projects. It's been amazing. I even think when on a personal note, when things don't go right, it's always my close mates are at hand. I don't have any complaints. So like I said, I've been quite blessed with that.
Okay, so. And then as a counsellor, again, this is one of those things where we're not going to delve into the party side of things. That's going to come around March, April time next year. We're going to drag everybody out, cause chaos. That was a joke, by the way. Just in case I start getting abusive messages saying stop stirring, which I always get told off for doing. But in a council capacity, you don't feel like you've been treated any differently, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's just come back to about the outlook of going forward. I think it's positive. It's something that I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of projects in the pipeline as well. As a counsellor, I've not been treated any different. Without mentioning all the counsellors' name, but they give me a platform to speak. They've been forthcoming with inviting me to platforms like this in the past, just to say my piece as well. I've also, I'm vice chair of Nelson Town Council. Again, opportunities that have been given to me from my peers in the council as well. So yeah, I've got the opportunities there, so it's great.
Now, in terms of your community, now I'm just keen to emphasize this point. When I say your community, obviously you are part of our community as a whole,
yeah.
But you do obviously have like a church group and family who are Christian. Like, are you? I mean, seems like an obvious question, but are you seeing that as more almost like a breakthrough kind of guide, counsellor and role model kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, I never used to be, but I think as I got older, I think I kind of broke a few barriers as to with communication, going out and talking to people. I think a lot of my family and friends have seen me being very open and very forthcoming with other people, no matter who it is. And I've always said, look, don't assume. Never assume. I goes, one of the biggest things I used to do growing up was assume, oh, he's not going to like me. And you almost go into a shell. I goes, don't assume. I goes, be the best version of yourself when you meet someone. And you'll never know. And honestly, some of them, they have taken it on board, and they're fine, absolutely fine. Obviously, some, still quite stuck in that little bit of a shell because I think you're going to get let down. But it's just one of those things. But yeah, I think I'd like to think I'm a role model in my community. I think I was one of the first Asian Christians who became a counsellor in I think the north, I think, or northwest or something like that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So yeah, it was a great honour to represent my community as well. So
yeah, because then even when you become the counsellor, one, you're representing your community, but then you're also representing the residents as well, and it really did bring like that kind of extra layer of integration, didn't it, so to speak. So
absolutely.
Something to be proud of that. And then kind of going into the future, in terms of, obviously, like I said, things have improved and there was, like we've talked about some stuff today, but what do you want to see next?
You know what I'd like to see next? I mean, this doesn't have to be anything to do with politics or anything like that. I just think there should be more interaction. People just getting along a bit more.
Yeah.
A bit more cohesion going on with the elders, not just the youngsters. There are some projects that are available for everyone to get involved in. I would like to see some of the youth doing stuff like that. Like from the age of 18 to say, I'm not saying youth, but I mean up to 30 at least. Just get involved more.
Because are you finding a lot at the moment that the kind of projects that are ongoing, I could be way off base here, but it feels like a lot of people doing it, spearheading them, right people for the job, but they tend to be more like kind of people in the community or maybe well-known people. But are you saying that we kind of need to start bringing in some younger ones kind of with them as well?
Yeah. I am going to mention Mash because he's got a lovely group that he's built from scratch. What are they called now?
It's alright. We'll put a graphic up at the
bottom.
Yeah,
forgive me, but I think it was Positive Voices. Positive Voices, great group. And they're a mixed group, and they've made a lot of noise. And it was nice to see youngsters from school, probably now at college now, or probably even going to uni now, and they've done some great work with the community. So I'd like to see a lot more of that. Of the youngsters doing a bit more work now on interfaith and community cohesion, because that's where I think now it's really, really vital.
Okay.
Where I think they can learn more, and have more knowledge that there is another community out there.
Okay.
And they'll probably bring everyone out there at the comfort zone a little bit.
I think that would work quite well. I think it's just a matter of making it happen.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure. No, because I can see the elders who didn't have that when they were young. When they came to the country, the first thing they had to do was provide for the family in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And then, build a future here. So I mean, the community cohesion wasn't their priority, and I'd say that it wasn't my dad's priority.
Yeah.
Because he had kids, and family, and then family in Pakistan, and his one mum and dad here. The pressure's real. So we didn't have that. You know what I mean? And we didn't say, speak to that English person next door, shake hands, make sure it's all right, because it's not your priority.
No.
But times have changed. There's so much has happened since the 80s and 90s now. I'd say the 80s. But now we've got the opportunity to not make the same mistakes as our elders have made. Because now I know they're trying to build that bridge now.
Yeah.
And they've and I've heard them and make mistakes. Yeah, we should have been a bit more welcoming to the English community. We should have done this, we should have done that. And I'm glad that it's been recognised. It's never too late. And I see some of the uncles that in the 60s that are doing good work. But what we want to do is not to have a gap again.
Yeah.
So if we've got some of the youngsters now, whether it's a music project, whether it's a sports project, or anything, I would love for them just to be involved in something like that. So that would be one for the future, I think.
Because I have noticed that. I don't know if it's just because when we grew up, like social media was like new then. So you generally, prior to that, we were kind of just a generation. We just hung around with whoever was near us.
Yeah.
And it was that. And obviously, this is a predominantly. This location is a secret, but I think a few already know what it is. But the majority of the population here is Asian, so I'd only grow up around Asian people, so my close circle of friends is Asian, and I'm guessing likewise for you initially as well. So, but I'm noticing a lot more that I'm seeing quite a lot more. As you're driving around, you see kids playing football or kind of walking around in groups and stuff. There's quite a few kind of mixed groups now.
Yeah,
and that's actually a good sign and it's not like they're mixing and they're losing out on what makes them what they are. You see them like one guy's popped out of mosque and said, "All right, man, let's go play football." And he's got another group of lads with him, and everyone's happy and dandy. So I don't know. It actually sounds positive, I think.
You know what? There is positive vibes coming from Nelson. We just need to not lose that spark. You know what I mean? We've got a platform now. We've got many platforms now. We just need to utilize them. I'm here today, and thank you for having me on. It's one of the reasons why I want to be on. We're thinking, look, we've got an opportunity now. Let's not create another gap.
Yeah.
Let's the guys that are doing the work right now. I trust me, they work really hard to bring communities together. And let's help them or work with them. And I would love some of the younger guys to think, I want to help out.
Okay, so what I'll do is I want to chat to Naz after this podcast, and I'm going to get a few names and descriptions of some of the projects and possibly some contact information and stuff, and I'll put them in the description of this video, because I know a lot of the kind of age group who watch these videos and are in that kind of area. So it'd be good if we could just get that information to them, and then I'll get it on the Facebook page as well. Just let's keep that sparking data to say, but. So just to start rounding things off then, is there anything else that you want to cover, or is there anything else you want to kind of almost get off your chest, so to speak, with this platform?
I think I've said enough just to get off my chest. It's probably the first time I've ever spoke about my own experiences in this kind of environment. I've never really spoke about my own, what I've experienced, so on my family. But I'm hoping. There's going to be less of that going forward. Like I said, things have changed massively, but there is still factions of prejudice there. But I think, again, like we said, going forward, if we get everyone to start talking a bit more to each other, I think that would be great help.
I can't argue with that for a nice rounding positive statement. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I just want to say again, thank you for coming and doing this. You're one of the few people that's come on and hasn't actually been nervous. So believe it or not, from all the so you guys can go through the entire playlist. Every single one of them, except for I think yourself and one other person, everybody else has been nervous, or they bluffed it and pretended they aren't, which.
No,
but yeah, and then the only thing I'll just ask is, look, as you know, this does take me a bit of time to set up, and obviously the logistics of having a podcast and kind of giving a platform to people in the community. So I'd really appreciate if you could just subscribe to the channel, because the more subscribers I have, the more people I can reach, or maybe even just share the video, just because there's a lot of positivity in this video. It's not like I'm sitting here and I'm inviting people to come and argue. That's going to happen later when the elections are coming. So there's plenty of that. I'll be getting the spoon out and stirring, but for now, that's all. So yeah, guys, peace out.
Thank you very much.